What's up, guys? Welcome back or to the channel. And as I said I would, I took the Jeep to the dealer and I've got a little bit of information to share with you guys. Now, I did end up taking it to the dealer the next day after doing a little bit more research. I'm gonna hop back in the Jeep because it is a little bit frigid out today. But basically what happened was, after that video, I was kind of disappointed because I thought I had the problem solved and I thought that I figured it out. So I went back on the forums and I looked a little bit more, and the only thing I could find was that same thing, was ball joints. So the next day I went to the dealer and I actually had a pretty good experience. Now, a lot of people, well, actually not a lot of people, but a few people have been commenting on the last video, oh, if I hear any noise, I would just take it straight to the dealer because if I touched anything myself, then they could say that it was me that messed it up, this and that. So to be honest with you guys, I would rather do all of my own service. I would rather never have anyone ever touch my vehicle other than myself, just for the simple fact that I used to be a mechanic, and not that I know everything and I know better, but I used to be a mechanic and I know how shops operate. A lot of the times they're going to give easy jobs to mechanics that are inexperienced, brand new, apprentices, or even guys that are co-op students that are just, they don't know their left hand from their ass. So basically, you don't know who's working on your vehicle. You don't know if they have done the things that they have said they have done. And if I'm going there and I already know the issue because I've looked it up online and I figured out that it's the ball joints, and I know that from the factory they're not tight enough, if I go there and I tell them to tighten them, what are they going to do? They're going to go to the factory spec. And here's my proof. So when I went there, I spoke with my salesperson because he's actually a great guy to deal with. He's super helpful and he's super down to earth. He's not trying to squeeze anybody on anything. So honestly, he helped me out a lot. He took me to the shop foreman, like the guy that runs the entire technical side on the mechanic side. And he basically showed me, like, yeah, he's like, I am aware that there's a TSB, which is a technical service bulletin, on those ball joints. And I'm aware that there's an issue with those ball joints. And he told me focus on the lower ball joints. I told him I tightened it myself. We went for a drive. He said, yeah, you know what, to be honest with you, he's like, I can take it in and tighten it for you, or you can do it yourself. It's up to you. And what he did was he went in, printed out the TSB, and he also printed out this. Now, what this is basically the factory torque specs. Right there, it tells you torque specifications, front suspension, and like I was saying in my last video, I wasn't sure what was supposed to be tightened under weight. Well, I knew that it was at least the control arms had to be tightened under weight. So you can see upper control arm, lower control arm, lower control arm, and this is all front suspension. So you can see all of those have to be tightened, must be torqued with the vehicle at normal ride height, meaning with the vehicle's weight on it and the wheels on. So everything else can be tightened in the air or on a lift or on a jack. So upper ball joint nut, once torque is reached, manually advance the castle nut to the next castle nut opening for the cotter pin to be inserted, even if the hole is aligned when final torque is reached. Meaning what I did was not wrong, I went to the next hole. Now what he told me to do on the bottom one is to go even to the next one. And I actually did that. I went the next day and I did that myself. And my noise is completely gone. But he even told me if I brought it in, he would go to the factory torque specs. And if you guys don't believe me that the factory torque specs are a joke, here are the factory torque specs. Now, there is a different spec whether you have an aluminum knuckle or whether you have a cast knuckle. Where is it? There it is, cast iron knuckle. The cast iron knuckle does take slightly more. It takes 22 foot-pounds. Yeah, that's right, 22 foot-pounds initially, and then 48 as your final. The aluminum one takes 15 foot-pounds and then 59 foot-pounds. So it does get a little bit tighter after, but you go a little bit less on your initial. So what you're supposed to do is tighten it down to your 15 foot-pounds, and then you tighten it down to your 59 foot-pounds. Once final torque is reached, manually advance the castle nut to the next castle nut opening, and so on and so forth, just like it said for the last one. Meaning that what we did wasn't wrong, because we basically went from one opening to the next. Even though they probably already did that, this 59 foot-pounds is not very tight. If you guys know torque specs, or if you have worked on vehicles, 59 foot-pounds is not very tight at all. Like, I'm telling you, this should not be 59 foot-pounds. I believe that a ball joint should be closer to around 80 foot-pounds. That's just speaking from experience working on my other vehicles. But like I said, if you took it to the dealer, they're going to follow these torque specs, and these torque specs are what caused the issue initially. So if you do want to go out and take it to the dealer and let them know there is a TSB, you might get lucky. You might find a guy that actually is down to earth and isn't drinking the Kool-Aid and will actually tighten it down for you. Unfortunately, the guy told me if I brought it in, his techs weren't going to tighten it down further than the actual torque specs on the actual sheet here, which is fine. I understand that. That's what they have to do. They work at a dealership. They have to follow corporate, and that's what corporate tells them to do. So at the end of the day, if you guys know that you have an issue and you can fix it yourself, I recommend fixing it yourself. But if you want to take it to the dealer, by all means, take it to your dealer. So if you guys remember, while we were tightening it down, the upper ball joint made that creaking noise. Oh, you can hear it clicking. So that was also the exact same noise we were hearing while we were driving. So that kind of gives you that idea that you're on the right path when you're tightening it down, because you're hearing that noise. And another thing that the guy told me, the foreman, is if you're tightening it down and you hear that noise, tighten it down until you stop hearing the noise, because that means it's seating itself still and it's grabbing that cup the way it's supposed to be, because it's pushed inside that actual knuckle. They're not threaded in, they're not held in by that bolt. That bolt is holding the knuckle to the actual rest of the steering. The ball joint is pressed in, so if it's getting tightened down a little bit more, it's possible that it's sucking it into that joint a little bit more, and it's not shifting and not squeaking and not making that noise. So at the end of the day, we got it fixed. And like I said, another reason that I don't take it to the dealer is I got the factory, or not the factory, I got the dealer rust proofing. After the dealer did their rust proofing, I still had scratches on my frame. If any normal person sees bare metal on a frame and they're doing rust proofing, would they not at least hit it with a spray can or a rattle can or something? You would think. But yeah, so this isn't going to be a long video, but I do have one more thing I want to show you guys, because another viewer commented on the last video and they said that there should be a checklist for all people that buy a brand new Jeep. And there's 3 things at least that should be on that checklist. First thing is check your tire pressure, because when they deliver your vehicle, once it comes off the truck, they overinflate them when they're in transport so that they can actually transport them easier for whatever reason. I don't know, I'm not a vehicle transporter, but it helps with transport. So they don't actually check the tire pressure before they give it to the customers most of the time, and you end up having like 37 to 42 psi. So definitely check your psi on your tires when you get your vehicle, because it usually is overinflated. Second thing is check your frame, because you might have bare metal and bare scratches on the frame. Third thing is those ball joints. And actually a fourth thing is fuses, which we are going to go check right now. And once you get your hood open, basically you want to get your fuse panel open and just push everything down. Your relays are the bigger guys here, and your fuses are all of these little guys in here. Just give everything a good push, make sure everything is seated. I have heard from a couple people that these will cause a lot of electrical problems if they're not seated properly, and they know from experience because they haven't been seated properly. So just go one by one, push everything down, make sure everything is seated. And personally, mine were all seated as they should be. I haven't felt anything that went in any further than it already was seated, like everything was how it should be. And this right here is a tool. Not everybody might know this. This is actually used to pull your fuses. So this side is used to pull these fuses right here, and it has a little bit of a tooth that will pull them out. And the other side is for your smaller fuses, so for these. Now I'm not going to be pulling them right now. I can pull one, I guess, just to show you, but basically you just pinch them and take them out, and just make sure you seat it back in. And same thing for the bigger ones, kind of just pinch them and pull them out. So there you go. Nice. Now everything is as it should be. Like I said, I didn't feel anything funny under here. The only other things that people will tell you to check, or that you should kind of keep an eye on, is ball joints, tire pressure, fuses, and any rust spots that you will find underneath. Now you can see I've already added on my own undercoating. I've added on a fluid film just to make it that much better at repelling water and dirt and salt. Now it does actually have the dirt stick to it just a little bit. You can see like I have a leaf stuck over here, but once you actually give it a good wash, it all comes off and you still have a pretty decent coating on there. It doesn't actually take the coating off, but you can still get the dirt off. I've tried and it works. Now, as for the rest of these torque specs, I can post these for you if you guys want me to, but they are pretty easy to find online. I will kind of scroll through them real slow for you right now, just so that if you are interested in any of these torque specs, you can pause the video and you will have it for you right there on the screen. And like I mentioned earlier, I did go back and tighten up my ball joints. So originally I tightened up everything from my control arms to my track bars, my pretty much anything I could in the front, and I tightened everything down, and I still had the noise. Once I finally tightened down my ball joints, the noise was still there, but it was a little bit better. When I went to the dealer, they told me focus on the bottom ball joints. I went back, I turned those one more turn, so in total 2 notches on the crown nut from where it originally started. I put the cotter pins in, well, new cotter pins anyway, and here we are. So no more noise. It drives as it should. I've been driving it for the past 2 days and no noises at slow speeds, at high speeds, at any speeds. And I am pleased to say that everything is as it should be. So guys, I think that's about gonna be it for today's video. It was just a quick update to let you know what happened at the dealer and how to get rid of that annoying knocking or clunking. And if you guys still have any other issues, then definitely drop me a line. I'm happy to talk, I'm happy to help, and hopefully we can figure out exactly what's going on, because nobody wants to have issues with their brand new vehicle. And I know a lot of people will be going, oh, well, it's a brand new vehicle, it shouldn't have those noises, it shouldn't have these issues. At the end of the day, everything is made by people, nobody's perfect, and if they have the torque specs off a little bit in the factory, so be it. It's not the end of the world, it's something you can fix. It isn't gonna destroy your vehicle even if you don't go and tighten them right away. It's just gonna wear out your ball joints a little bit quicker. At the end of the day, it is something you can repair, it is something that they are aware of, and it is something they're willing to fix. So it is what it is. It's not a cheap vehicle, but problems happen everywhere. Whether you buy yourself this thing or a old one like this. Trust me, I've been through it all, and you can't get away from it. There's always something that you have to chase and something that you always have to kind of take care of on any vehicle. I've had multiple brand new vehicles, and trust me, there's always something, even if it's just that little bit. So hopefully that video helps you, hopefully this video helped you guys out. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, please jump down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the future video. But we will be taking this thing off-road soon, and I have my favorite mod that I think I'm gonna be putting on this thing ever, or like in its lifetime, coming soon. It should be here in a few days, and I will be installing that soon, so definitely look for that video coming up. We will be doing some more mods to this coming up, but my favorite mod is coming very soon. So hopefully I'll see you guys in that video. And until then guys, ride safe out there. Peace.